She told me she was going to yoga. That was the beginning of the unraveling. Not because she'd never gone before, she had, but because she came back in a black dress, hair curled, eyeliner a little too perfect for downward dog. I was sitting at the kitchen table, staring at the steam curling off my coffee like I was watching a slow death. She walked in, heels in hand, cheeks flushed, smelling like someone else's cologne mixed with the tail end of a lie. "Class ran long," she said, sliding her phone into her bag without making eye contact. "Yoga. In a dress." I didn't speak. Not because I didn't know what to say, God knows the questions were clanging in my skull like a drop tray, but because in that moment, I realized something. She wasn't hiding it well anymore. She wasn't trying to. That shook me more than anything. For months, things had been off. That's too light a word. She'd started talking to me like I was a colleague she barely respected, like every interaction had a clock running and I was wasting her time. She started canceling dinner plans. Forgot my birthday. Laughed a little too loudly at texts she wouldn't let me see. But this was brazen. And yet I said nothing. Not because I was blind. Because I was watching. Waiting. I had a theory and I needed proof. Not for her. For me. So I could look myself in the mirror when it was time to burn it all down. 3 days later, I followed her. Left work early. Parked 2 streets down from the corner cafe she told me she hated. Waited. Watched her walk out 10 minutes later with a man in a navy coat who had his hand on the small of her back like he owned it. Like I never existed. She smiled at him. The kind of smile that cracked me in half. She looked younger, freer, like I'd been the anchor all along and this man, this nobody, was the lifeboat. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I sat in my car, watching her laugh at something he said, and I felt time stop. She looked happy. Genuinely happy. And I hated how familiar that expression was, because it used to be mine. I didn't follow them. I didn't need to. The image was already printed on the inside of my skull like a scar. I drove home with both windows down even though it was freezing. I needed the cold. I needed something that hurt and made sense. When she walked in that night, I was sitting in the living room with the lights off, TV playing some muted sitcom I wasn't watching. She was humming. She never hummed. She dropped her bag on the counter and called out my name like nothing had happened. I stood, walked into the kitchen. She turned, startled, just for a second. "I thought you were working late?" I looked at her, really looked at her. She was still in that same black dress, still glowing from whatever the hell that moment with him gave her. "Who is he?" I asked. Calm. Too calm. Her eyes flickered. A flicker so fast most people would have missed it. But I caught it. I'd spent years studying that face. Loving that face. She laughed. Actually laughed. Like I just asked if she believed in aliens. "You're being paranoid again." Again. Like this was some script I'd read before. But this time I knew my lines. "Don't lie. I saw you." That shut her up. Just for a second. Then came the shift. She crossed her arms. Tilted her head. Smirked. "What exactly did you see?" She was daring me. Not denying. Not even pretending anymore. That was when I knew I'd already lost her. I stared at the woman in front of me and saw none of the girl I married. Nothing soft. Nothing kind. Just a shell wrapped in perfume and rehearsed confidence. "I saw enough," I said. "More than enough." She sighed. Not in guilt. In annoyance. Like I was being dramatic for making her miss a night of sleep with whoever the hell. "You've been distant for months," she said. "You don't listen. You don't see me. You just sit in your routines and expect everything to stay the same. Maybe if you paid attention." She kept going. Blaming. Twisting. Gaslighting. I didn't speak. Not until she stopped, took a breath, and looked at me like she was expecting a breakdown. "I loved you," I said quietly. "God, I loved you. Even when you made it hard. Even when you disappeared right in front of me. I built my world around you." She blinked. Just once. "You're overreacting." "No," I said. "I'm finally reacting." That was the night everything changed. That was just the beginning. She didn't come home the next night. No warning. No call. Just silence. I didn't sleep. I sat on the edge of the bed for hours, staring at the blank wall like it held answers. waiting for the click of the front door that never came. At 2:43 a.m., I messaged her. Just one word. Where? No response. I didn't ask why. I knew. That question had already rotted and died inside me. At 4:15, I walked to the kitchen and found her wedding ring in the sink. Not in a box. Not placed carefully. Just dropped. Like loose change. My mind wasn't calm. It wasn't even chaos, it was quiet. And that's what scared me the most. There's a stillness that comes after your reality shatters like the eye of a storm, and in that silence, I heard everything. Every laugh she'd given him, every lie she'd told me, every excuse dressed in perfume and made-up smiles. The next day, I didn't go to work. I started tearing through drawers, pulling apart corners of the life we built like I was disarming a bomb. And I found it. I knew I would. In her nightstand, beneath an old paperback and a scented candle, was a second phone. Not even password protected. The arrogance. Dozens of messages. They called each other M and L. How poetic. How cowardly. I read everything. Every lie, every plan, every smug little secret coded in emoji and innuendo and phrases like, he's clueless and you deserve better. But the one that stopped me cold? If he finds out, I'll just say it's emotional. Not physical. He's weak when I cry. There it was. Not just betrayal. Strategy. This wasn't a mistake. This was warfare. I closed the phone, sat down at the edge of the bed, and stared at her empty side. The pillow still held the shape of her. The outline of a woman who knew exactly what she was doing. When she finally walked in that evening, hair wet, smelling like soap that wasn't ours, I didn't say a word. I handed her the phone. Her face went pale. Not with guilt, but with frustration. Like a child caught sneaking out. She didn't even ask where I found it. Didn't try to grab it. Just stared, eyes flickering, calculating. Okay, she said finally. Calmly. So you know. That was it? So I know. I repeated, almost laughing. That's what you've got? She folded her arms. Her voice was even. I didn't want it to happen like this. You pushed me away. For a long time. There it was again. My fault. As if I left my own bed, wandered into another man's arms, and whispered how clueless she was. Say his name, I said. What? I read it. I want to hear you say it. She looked away. For the first time, something cracked in her. Not sadness, fear of losing control. Of not being the one steering the narrative. I don't need to give you details, she said. It's over. That's what matters. Is it? I asked. Because it doesn't look over. She clenched her jaw. Took a breath. Her mask was slipping, and what showed underneath wasn't regret, it was annoyance. You act like I murdered someone. You murdered us. That stopped her. For a second. Then came the cruelty. Her voice turned flat. Cold. Maybe us was already dead and you just didn't notice. That line. That one line. It felt like she'd reached into my chest and turned off a switch. I stepped back. Looked at her. Really looked. She wasn't crying. She wasn't sorry. She was done. And in that moment, so was I. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I walked into the bedroom, grabbed the suitcase I hadn't used in 3 years, and started packing. She didn't stop me. Didn't ask where I was going. Didn't say a word. As I zipped the bag, I remembered something she once told me early in our relationship, something I thought was romantic back then. I only stay where I'm worshipped. Now I understood. She never wanted a partner. She wanted a stage. And the moment I stopped applauding, she walked off with someone who clapped louder. I didn't go to a hotel. I didn't go to a friend's place. I drove. 4 hours. Out past the suburbs, past the city, down unfamiliar roads where the lights got fewer and the silence heavier. The air changed out there. Cleaner. Colder. Honest. I pulled over on a dirt shoulder somewhere outside a forgotten town and sat in my car with the engine off. The darkness swallowing everything except the red glow of my dashboard clock. 1:12 a.m. I wasn't running from her. I was trying to outrun the part of myself that still wanted to forgive her. That's the worst part no one tells you. It's not just the betrayal that guts you. It's the treacherous voice in your own head whispering maybe she'll come to her senses, or maybe it wasn't that serious, or the worst of all, maybe you still need her. No, not this time. She betrayed me, the one I trusted the most. I loved her with all my heart, built a future for us, believed in us. And now it's all shattered. She says she regrets it. But sorry won't fix what's been broken into 1,000 pieces. I'm gone. And this time for good. Where there's betrayal, there's no home left. I turned my phone off that night. No texts. No calls. Let the silence do what she wouldn't, respect my need for peace. The next morning, I drove back into town. Parked outside our house. Not my house. Not anymore. She wasn't there. I unlocked the door with my own key for what I decided would be the last time. Walked through each room like I was touring the ruins of something ancient and once beautiful. Everything looked the same, but it felt different. Dead. Like someone had emptied the soul out of the space and left only furniture behind. In the living room, I found a note. Not handwritten. Printed. Typed out like a memo. Like I was a business transaction that had gone wrong and needed to be filed away. It said, "I need time. Please don't make this harder. I'll be staying elsewhere for now." That was it. No apology. No explanation. Just a request for space from the man she gutted. But what did I expect? She was never going to cry at the doorway or beg me to stay. She didn't believe in grief. Only inconvenience. I went upstairs, grabbed a box from the closet, and started collecting what was mine. Photos, old notebooks, the watch she gave me for our 3rd anniversary, ironic since time had clearly meant nothing to her. That's when I found the envelope, tucked behind our wedding photo. A thick envelope sealed. Inside cash. A lot of it. No note. No name. Just money. My stomach twisted. I checked our shared account on my phone. Empty. She'd cleaned it out. I sat down on the bed, holding the envelope, and let the shock wash over me. This wasn't just infidelity. It was premeditated. She'd planned this. Stashed cash. Changed passwords. Hit a second phone. Lined up another man like a job promotion. I wasn't just a man she betrayed. I was an exit plan she walked through with her heels clicking like applause. But you know what? She made one mistake. She underestimated the silence. The stillness. She thought leaving me in it would break me. But it didn't. It sharpened me. She wanted space? She just gave me the room I needed to stop being her victim and start being something far more dangerous. Done being broken. Now I was paying attention. I didn't touch the envelope. Left it on the nightstand like a crime scene. If she wanted to buy silence, she'd have to find someone cheaper. I walked through the house one last time. Not in grief, no. Something colder. I wasn't mourning the loss of a marriage anymore. I was documenting a betrayal, cataloging every moment she smiled in my face while sharpening a knife behind her back. Downstairs, on the bookshelf, I found the framed anniversary photo from year 5. We were on the coast, wind in her hair, her hand on my chest. I remember the moment clearly, not because it was special, but because it was the last time I truly believed she loved me. I took the frame, flipped it over, and noticed something strange. The back had been unsealed. Inside the frame, behind the picture, was another note. Folded, handwritten, rushed. It wasn't meant for me. I can't keep sneaking out. He's not stupid. I'll fix it soon. Promise. No name, no date, just that. She'd hidden a message for him inside a photo of us. That was her. That was who I married. A woman who didn't just lie. She decorated with her lies. I left everything but the essentials. Grabbed my clothes, my laptop, a few files, and my father's old watch. That was all I needed. Not keepsakes. Not memories. Just the pieces of me that hadn't been touched by her poison. Before I closed the door for the last time, I turned to the kitchen. On the counter sat the empty wine glass she used every night when she told me she was too tired to talk. I picked it up, held it for a second, then dropped it. The crash echoed like closure. She texted that night. Not to apologize. Not to explain. Saw you came by. Hope you didn't take the wrong things. I stared at the message, heart silent, hand steady. Wrong things? Everything I'd taken belonged to me. She, on the other hand, had taken something I didn't know could be stolen. Certainty. Trust. That sacred, invisible thread that connects two people and tells them, "You're safe here." She cut that thread with a smile. I didn't respond. Not yet. I needed a plan. The next morning I went to the bank. Confirmed what I already suspected. She drained the joint account 3 days ago. Transferred the entire balance into a personal account under her name. The teller couldn't tell me more. Privacy laws, she said. But her face gave away more than she meant. She looked at me like someone had already been there before. Setting things up. Planning. Preparing. That night, I sent her a message. Just one word. Lawyer. She replied an hour later. Overreaction. Can we just be adults about this? I didn't answer. I forwarded the photo of the envelope. The note I found behind our picture. The bank receipt. And then I sent one final message. You wanted space. Now you'll get the full distance. The next day I got a call. Not from her. From him. He made a mistake. He called me. His voice was too confident. That was the first thing I noticed. When he said my name, like we were on equal footing, like this was a conversation between men, I could hear the arrogance bleeding through every syllable. I figured it was time we talked, he said. No introduction. No hesitation. Just like that. I didn't respond. Let him sit in the silence. He continued. I know this is complicated, but I want to clear the air. I didn't expect things to happen the way they did. He didn't expect, as if tripping into my life and sleeping with my wife was some accidental stumble on a sidewalk. Still, I said nothing. I wanted to hear what kind of man would cheat with another man's wife and then pick up the phone like it was some minor scheduling issue. I didn't come into this looking to hurt anyone, he said. Of course not. They never do. They just leave rubble and act surprised when people bleed. He kept talking. She told me things were dead between you two, that you barely spoke, that you hadn't connected in a long time. I honestly thought she was single at first. That last line. I thought she was single at first. That's what made me finally speak. For how long? There was a pause. He knew what I meant. He just wasn't sure how honest to be. A little over a year, he said. A year. Not a fling. Not a moment of weakness. A full second life. While I paid the bills, kept the roof over her head, fought for a future she was already erasing. She was playing house with someone else. You're calling me why? I asked, voice low even. I want this to be civil. For her sake. That's when I laughed. Not loud. Not bitter. Just quiet, breathless disbelief. For her sake, I repeated. He sounded defensive now. I know how this looks. No, I cut in. You know exactly how this looks. You just don't care. You didn't call to clear the air. You called to make sure I wouldn't make this messy for you. I'm trying to do the right thing now. Wrong time to start. There was another pause. Longer this time. He wasn't in control anymore and he felt it. I thought you deserved the truth, he added, softer now. Even if it's late. Late doesn't begin to cover it. I hung up. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't threaten. Didn't scream. Because the moment I heard his voice, something shifted. This wasn't just about her anymore. This was about the version of me that tolerated silence, that overlooked red flags, that stayed quiet when the truth started showing up in shadows and fragments. That version of me was dead. And she'd helped kill him. But what he didn't count on was what would rise in his place. I met with the lawyer the next day. Told him everything. Gave him the screenshots, the timeline, the money transfer evidence. He looked at it all and nodded once. This won't be amicable, he said. No, I replied. It'll be fair. But even as I set the legal gears in motion, something else happened. Something she didn't expect. She came back. Not to apologize. To negotiate, she walked in like nothing happened. Same keys. Same coat. Same tired sigh she always gave when she used to come home from work, except this time it was all theater. There was no guilt in her eyes. Just calculation. She looked around the room like she was assessing damage, not returning to her husband. I figured we should talk, she said, setting her bag down like she still lived there. I didn't stand. Didn't offer her a seat. She looked at me, lips tight, scanning my face for cracks. There weren't any. She was too late for cracks. Now it was just stone. You've talked to him, she said. I didn't answer. She nodded to herself like she already knew. Okay. Then we don't need to lie. Funny choice of words. As if we hadn't been orbiting lies for over a year. As if that ship hadn't already sunk with her name scrawled across the side. I'm not here to fight, she added quickly. I'm here to be practical. This doesn't have to get ugly. We can keep things clean. Quiet. Quiet. That's what she wanted most of all. Not peace. Not respect. Just silence. She didn't want this affair to echo into her new life. She didn't want consequences making noise where she was planning comfort. This is about the money, I said. She hesitated. There it was. I took what I needed to get started, she said carefully. It wasn't out of spite. I just didn't want to be trapped. Trapped. She used that word as if I'd locked her in a tower instead of building a home around her. As if love was a cage and loyalty was a chain. You emptied our account, I said. Then left cash behind like a parting gift. Her face hardened. I didn't think you'd be so dramatic. Dramatic. As if betrayal was just a change in schedule. As if blowing up someone's life was something that should be taken calmly like bad weather. Let's split what's left, she continued. I'll return half of the account. We'll divide assets. We can do this without dragging it through the courts. No, I said. Just one word. Sharp. Final. She blinked, thrown off by the lack of negotiation. No, she repeated. You're going to force this into litigation? You lied. Stole. Cheated. Hid another relationship inside our marriage like a parasite. You don't get to rewrite the ending just because it's more convenient for you now. She stepped forward. Just a little. You're still emotional. That was the wrong thing to say. I stood. Slowly. Don't mistake my calm for weakness. You've had over a year to prepare for this. I've had 5 days. And already I'm ahead of you. That was when she lost it. The mask slipped. The calm dissolved. So what? You want revenge now? You think dragging this out is going to bring your pride back? No, I said. But it'll bring truth into every corner you tried to keep dark. Her voice rose. You were never present. You made everything about work. About money. You think that makes you a victim? I needed more. I deserved more. She was yelling now, finally showing her true shape. And instead of leaving like a decent human being, you stuck around to be worshipped by 2 men at once, I said. You didn't want out. You wanted options. She went quiet. Then, with venom so cold it almost sounded rehearsed, she said, You're pathetic. No, I said, stepping past her, walking to the door. I was loyal. There's a difference. She left with nothing that night. Not a word. Not a glance back. I locked the door after her, not out of fear. Out of ceremony. One lock for every time she lied. But she wasn't done. Not even close. She still had one card to play. And I was ready for it. 3 days of silence. That's how long it took before she struck again. Not with words. Not with emotion. With paperwork. I came home from the lawyer's office to find a courier envelope wedged under my front door. No return address. Just my name typed. Precise. Cold. Inside, a cease and desist. Apparently, someone, guess who, was claiming emotional distress due to harassment via unauthorized use of private communication and potential defamation. In other words, I'd shared screenshots with my lawyer with a few close friends, and now she was afraid the truth might ruin her carefully curated next chapter. She wasn't trying to protect herself. She was trying to scare me into silence. And it might have worked months ago. Back when I still thought she had lines she wouldn't cross. But now? I laughed. Loud, real, cutting. I called her. First time since she walked out. She answered on the 3rd ring. I see you're done negotiating, I said. She didn't say anything at first. Then calmly, you left me no choice. You always had a choice, I said. You just never picked dignity. She exhaled like she was doing me a favor just by speaking. I don't want my personal life paraded around like gossip. Then maybe you should have kept it personal, I snapped. Not public between your legs and someone else's couch. The silence on the line burned. You're bitter. I'm accurate. She dropped the civility completely. Her voice turned sharp, venomous. Fine. If this is how you want to play it, lawyers, drama, dragging everything out, then so be it. But just remember, 2 can play at that game. I laughed again. You already played. You lost. Now you're angry there's a scoreboard. She hung up. But she wasn't finished. The next morning I got a call from HR. Apparently, someone had submitted a complaint to my company's ethics line, anonymous, of course, about inappropriate behavior outside the workplace that might reflect poorly on the company. And guess what? They had screenshots. Out-of-context ones. Twisted, cropped messages from my conversations. She wasn't just trying to protect her story anymore. She was trying to destroy mine. But here's the thing about scorched earth. You better be ready to walk barefoot through the ashes. I met with HR, brought the full timeline. The lawyer's letters. Every unedited screenshot. Every voice memo. Every receipt. And I didn't flinch. Because I had the one thing she never expected, the truth raw, documented, and already processed by someone much smarter than her and her new partner. HR cleared me. But that wasn't the point. The point was she wanted war. And war means consequences. So I made a choice that day. I filed for a full, contested divorce. Not just on grounds of infidelity, but for financial misconduct, emotional manipulation, and calculated reputational sabotage. My lawyer smiled when I handed over the final piece, the hidden cash envelope. She really thought this would go quietly, he said. No, I replied. She thought I'd break. But I didn't. She did. And soon, she was going to realize just how loud the truth can be when it finally starts talking back. The court date was set. 3 weeks from the day she tried to bury me with legal threats and HR whispers. 3 weeks to prepare every document, every message, every financial statement she never thought I'd track. 3 weeks to build a case, not just of infidelity, but of premeditated erosion. Because that's what this was. Not a slip. Not a moment of weakness. She'd constructed a demolition plan under our roof while smiling at dinner, sending anniversary texts, kissing my cheek on holidays like she wasn't already halfway out the door with another man's hand in hers. My lawyer was surgical. We compiled timelines, lined up bank transfers with phone records, matched texts to receipts, found the Airbnb she'd booked under a fake name 6 months prior. She'd used a burner email, same one she linked to a private Spotify playlist full of songs they'd sent each other. She used our wedding date as the password reset hint. The irony was insulting. On the morning of the first hearing, I walked into the courthouse alone. No support group. No fake smiles. No drama. Just me and the weight of a truth she never thought I'd carry this far. She showed up 15 minutes late. Wearing white. White. As if painting herself as innocent would somehow cancel out the rot already spilling out of her story. She didn't look at me. Not once. Just sat beside her lawyer, who looked more uncomfortable than confident, probably because even he could tell she was full of it. The hearing began. Her lawyer started soft, talked about irreconcilable differences, emotional neglect, a relationship that had deteriorated long before either party acted on it. That was their angle. Blur the timeline. Make it seem like we were both at fault. Equal blame. Shared collapse. Then it was my turn. My lawyer didn't shout. Didn't posture. He just dropped the facts like bricks. Photos. Transfers. Messages. Testimonies. Even the cease and desist threat. The one that clearly showed she wanted to suppress the truth, not clarify it. Then came the question that changed everything. The judge turned to her. Did you use joint funds without consent? Her lawyer tried to redirect. But she answered. Yes, she said. But I had a right. We were married. The judge's tone shifted. You also had a right to disclose it. But you didn't, which makes it a breach. She tried to speak again, but the words weren't sticking anymore. Her confidence was draining. The lines she'd rehearsed were falling flat. This wasn't her stage. There was no spotlight here, just consequence. Afterward, outside the courtroom, she caught up to me in the hallway. Still no apology. Just a bitter smirk. You really went for blood. I looked her dead in the eye. No, I went for truth. You just happened to bleed lies. She scoffed. You think you've won? I didn't come here to win. I came here to end it. And I meant it. But as I walked out of that building, I had a strange feeling in my gut. Like something was unfinished. Like she wasn't done. And I was right. Because a week later, she made one final move. And it was the lowest yet.it came in a manila envelope. No stamp. No courier. Just dropped off at my door sometime between dawn and midday. Unmarked. No return name. I stared at it for a long time before opening it, like somehow I already knew that whatever was inside would set a new low. Inside, a letter from a family attorney I'd never heard of, and a declaration of character concern. It was addressed to the court requesting a review of my emotional stability, suggesting I displayed volatile behavior in the days leading up to the separation. No charges. No incidents. Just vague language, outbursts, emotional manipulation, coercive language. It was all fabricated. Every line designed to paint me not as the betrayed, but as the aggressor. A man unstable, unfit, dangerous, and the cherry on top. She was preemptively requesting full control over remaining shared assets and any pending equity distribution based on my emotional unpredictability. She wasn't just trying to win anymore. She was trying to erase me. My lawyer was stunned. "This is a playbook move," he said. "She's not fighting you. She's rewriting you." Couldn't breathe. For a moment, I just sat there, staring at those pages. My own name twisted into something unrecognizable. Not a husband. Not a man who'd given everything. Just a character in her story, crafted to fit a courtroom strategy. She was betting on fear. That I'd retreat, settle, quiet down. But what she didn't realize was that this wasn't fear anymore. This was clarity. I told my lawyer to go nuclear legally. Full financial audit. Every account. Every transaction. Subpoena her messages. Her burner emails. Her hotel bookings. Her workspace correspondence. Everything. And while we were at it, I filed a formal defamation complaint. The language in her character attack crossed a line, and I was done playing on her field. 2 days later, she called. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was soft, syrupy, fragile. A tone she used to keep in her back pocket for when she needed something. "I didn't mean for things to go this far. Maybe we can talk. Just us. Without lawyers. Just us." The irony. I didn't reply. Instead, I sent her message to my attorney. Let her speak into a record she couldn't control. She tried once more. This time by text. "You used to love me." I stared at that sentence for a long time. Because it was true. I used to love her. But that man, the one who built his world around her, who defended her, forgave her, made excuses for her, he was dead. She buried him. Not in one blow, but slowly. With every lie. Every deflection. Every silent moment she chose someone else. Now, I was done letting her use my love as leverage. She didn't want closure. She wanted control. But what she was about to learn is this: the man she tried to manipulate is not the one she left behind. The final hearing came faster than expected. It wasn't just an end, it was a reckoning. I walked into that courtroom with the weight of everything she'd done packed into organized folders, lined with dates, times, screenshots, and truths she never thought would see the light. She came in wearing that same blank expression, polished like a statue, pretending to be calm, pretending to be a victim of emotional hardship. But this time, no one bought it. The judge was sharp. He'd read the filings. Seen the false character declaration she submitted, the forged timeline she tried to pass off as reality, the missing funds she couldn't explain. When my lawyer presented the subpoenaed bank records linking her name to 4 hidden accounts, including one under her sister's name, the judge actually leaned forward. Then came the kicker, the audio. She'd left me voicemails. Soft, gentle ones. Apologetic ones. The kind you don't leave if you're afraid of the person you're calling. We played them all. Every lie unraveled. Every mask she wore cracked and fell. Her lawyer asked for a recess halfway through. Desperation. He knew they were drowning. When we resumed, I didn't even need to speak. My case had already been made. Not through anger. Not through emotion. But through evidence. Cold. Quiet. Unforgiving. The judgment? Contested divorce granted in full in my favor. All shared assets frozen pending proper redistribution. Her fabricated claim of emotional instability struck from the record. All financial misconduct now subject to civil review. But more than any ruling, there was a moment. A silent one. When the judge read the verdict and she turned to look at me, not in rage, not in defiance, but in something else. Loss. Not of money. Not of the case. Of control. For the first time since this entire collapse began, she looked at me and saw what she destroyed. Not a marriage, not a man, but the version of me whoever would have taken her back. She said nothing, didn't ask to speak, didn't ask for forgiveness. She just stood there, small in a room that used to bend around her. Afterward, I walked out of that building lighter than I'd been in years. Not because justice was served, not because I won, but because I was free. Truly, completely, unapologetically free. No more wondering, no more hoping, no more trying to fix what was never broken on my end. She betrayed me, the one I trusted the most. I loved her with all my heart, built a future for us, believed in us. And now it's all shattered. She says she regrets it, but sorry won't fix what's been broken into 1,000 pieces. I'm gone, and this time for good. Where there's betrayal, there's no home left. So here's my advice to anyone reading this who's standing at the edge of the same cliff. Don't wait for them to come back to their senses. Don't wait for the apology that's never coming. Don't wait for the person they used to be. When someone shows you they've left the relationship, believe them. And then leave too. But don't just walk out, rise. That's what I did. And I'm not looking back.